Hello, thank you very much for tuning in. So I'm going to be reviewing Amory's call. He called in on the 3rd of September 2023. Matt Dillahunty and Arden Hart are in the chairs. It was really Matt which dealt with the whole call, I would say, more or less. So yes, Amory's a theist. He called in. It went about 20 minutes. We're going to hear about 6 minutes of it. I'm going to spend 2 minutes, if I can, just summarizing the call up to the point where we come in. So he's a theist. He didn't say whether he's a Christian or what brand of theism, but he called in to say that he wanted to talk about his justification for believing in God in terms of a thought experiment. And he cited the germ theory of disease, that before we had scientific evidence to prove that germs were responsible for disease, that nevertheless there were people at the time, or there were people that could have reasonably deduced or could have believed in the hypothesis that germs, that invisible microbes or organisms were on people and they were being passed from person to person. Because, as Matt said, it was believed by many that disease was linked to place. So you went somewhere and you caught a disease. But Amory seemed to be saying that you could have actually reasoned your way to a true belief, even though we didn't have the scientific fact at the time. And this is an analogy with the existence of God, which Amory is saying that, okay, we're not able to establish, we haven't got the tools to establish the existence of God, but nevertheless we can reason our way justifiably to a belief in God. I will say that he did, I thought was rather confusing, that he did actually admit, or he did say that, strictly speaking, he did not have sufficient evidence to justify his belief in God. But then he turned around and he used the example with the germ theory of disease, where even if you haven't got proof, yet you could still use reason to arrive at a true belief. Matt rejected this and said it would be irrational, and that the time to believe in something is when we've got sufficient evidence to warrant that belief. The conversation moved on, and Matt went down the road of saying, well, okay, so you've got a God that you do believe in. Are there gods out there that you conceivably don't believe in? And he said, well, yes, there might be. And then Matt then asked, well, what evidence do you have for belief in your own God that you don't have for the others? And then it got a bit tricky, because the caller wasn't really sure whether there were any gods out there that had been proposed that he didn't believe in. He would need some examples. And then he goes on to explain his belief in God and why he thinks that there are other gods which are effectively the same God. So let's have a listen to some of that.
Multiple times in many different ways by people misinterpreting it. Even the Christian.
Amory.
Yes.
That sounds to me like you believe in one God that people have represented as several different gods, correct?
Yeah, you could put it that way.
Yeah, okay, so I've spoken to many Christians in the past, and when I said, well, what about Allah? Do you believe in Allah? And they said, well, it's the same God, really, just a different culture's interpretation of the one true God. And I suppose that you could take all the gods out there that have been proposed, and you could say that about every single god. Say, well, it's the same God, or at least in the, sort of monotheism anyway. You could say that, yes, it may look different, it may have some different characteristics, the stories might be different, but effectively they're all pointing to the one true God, which is seen differently through different cultures.
Cool. So now that we're back to you believing in one God, let's say there are 20 other gods that you don't believe in. Do you think there are at least 20 other gods that you don't believe in?
Now, just quickly here, why 20? Now, Matt's going to do a thought experiment. Why does he need as many as 20 gods? He only needs one other God that he doesn't believe in.
I would have to ask what you mean by 20 different other gods that I don't
I'm
believe
going
in.
to invent
Because
20 gods right now. Gods 1, 2, 3, all the way down through 20. And all 20 of those gods have characteristics that you reject as being an actual function of a god. Are you able to think in the abstract at all? Do you think that I could invent?
Yeah, I mean, that is Matt's invitation to him to participate in this thought experiment. Now, the call that came on originally, if you go and listen to the actual call, I'll post a link below, he actually came on to say he wanted to engage in thought experiments, but here he is in this call doing his best to avoid engaging in Matt's thought experiment. He was okay with his own thought experiment, but he's not okay with Matt's thought experiment because he possibly knows where it's going to lead, somewhere that he doesn't want to go.
20 gods that you don't believe in.
I absolutely, but I
Okay.
think you're I think you're presupposing something.
Stop.
Hold on.
You believe in a god. No, you hold the fuck on.
Listen,
you don't tell me to hold on.
Hold on.
You don't tell me to hold on.
But you're not letting me address. You're not.
Okay, I'm muting you because you're not telling me to hold on. You believe in one God, and you believe that there are 20 other gods that I could invent right now that you don't believe in. Correct?
Am I back on?
I just asked you a question. Correct?
Yes. I didn't know if I was still being muted or not.
Yeah, that's what happens when you hear the beep. So you believe in one God, and you believe that there are 20 other gods that I could invent that you don't believe in. So, do you have more and better evidence for the one God than you do for the 20?
Well, in a way, I do. Yes.
Okay.
In a way.
What is the evidence?
But again, you're not letting me address it. You're not letting me address.
I'm literally asking you the fucking question so that you can address it, you lying piece of shit. You're not letting me address it. Here I'm asking you to address it. No, now you're unmuted.
I'm going to address
listen to me.
Okay.
For the God you believe in. Would you listen to me? Shut your pie hole and listen to me, and I will ask you a question, and then you will get to say whatever it is you need to say. For the God that you are convinced exists, what better evidence do you have for that God than for any God you do not believe in?
The evidence that I have for the God I believe in, I would only say that it's better than the 21 gods you just told me you invented, because I am aware of your invention of them. Just like if you were Stan Lee and you...
Well, that to me, if that was a game of chess, I think that would be the equivalent of Matt playing chess and having to swap out to avoid an even bigger disaster by swapping out his castle for a pawn. It hasn't really gone too well for him there. I think that he realized that it was a big mistake to admit that he'd invented 20 gods, because of course, if somebody invents 20 gods, then I suppose by definition they must be fictional gods to a much higher degree of probability than a god that you really believe in, and that you believe in because you've reasoned either through the cosmological argument or some other method that you don't know for certain that it's a made-up god. Yeah, so I think that Matt is going to have to reformulate that, but he's not blowing up here because the guy's making a good point.
Created a couple, now God rest his soul, love Stanley, but if I know that you're Stan Lee and that you just created...
Okay, now you're muted. Fine. Let's redo this.
Yeah, you see, he said fine. He accepts his point.
I'll give you a different set of 20. Are there 20 gods that you don't believe in, that you don't have evidence that somebody just made them up right now? For example, are there 20 possible gods that you don't believe in, that you do not have direct evidence that somebody invented them as a fiction?
I think he's complicating things by using such a large number. It really doesn't have to be 20 gods. It could just be 1 or 2.
Can I ask a question to clarify the question that you're asking me?
I guess so. I don't know why this is so hard, but go ahead.
Are you asking me that okay, let's use an example. Are you asking me that does the God I believe in have more evidence that it wasn't invented by, people as a Ganesh or Ra?
So you don't believe in Ra or Ganesh, right?
That's not what I said. I said
I'm asking, do you understand what a fucking question is, Amory? Do you believe in Ra?
Do
you believe in Ra?
I believe Ra has the same problems that the God I believe in has.
That's not.
Do you believe in Ganesh?
I'm amazed that he asked him that, because he's obviously going to say exactly the same as he's just said.
I would say that I believe Ganesh has the same problems that the God I believe in has.
Oh my God.
And that is that
you are fucking incapable of answering the question you're asked. I didn't ask you if Ganesh has the same problem as the God you believed in. I didn't ask you if Ra has the same problem as the God you believe in. I asked, do you believe in Ra or Ganesh?
Yes and no.
Goodbye.
Yeah, well, I suppose probably what he means by yes and no is that yes, in the sense that Ra and Ganesh are just simply the same kind of gods that he's already referred to. In other words, the same God that he believes in, but through another culture's eyes. No, in the sense that it doesn't have all the kind of characteristics which he associates with his own God, but it may have some of the characteristics. But I would like Matt to have asked him, because he said that Ganesh and Ra have got the same problems that his God has got, and I would like him to have asked him what problems that they actually are, but unfortunately we didn't get to find out. Well, I'm not going to play any more of this call. Obviously he's put the phone down, that's it. But yeah, I think what I got from that, I thought he was quite a kind of sharp caller, in the sense that he was thinking very carefully. There were silences in, where he was thinking and he was weighing up, and he was keen not to be trapped in Matt's thought experiment. So he wasn't prepared to play Matt's game. And I'm fairly sure that we could have got him to admit somehow, or we could have found out from him a God in the history of religion. Is there any God which you specifically don't believe in? Of course, if he said no, because they all point to his God, I mean, I suppose then we could have said, well, what about Isis and Osiris or something, something that was just completely, but then he might have just turned around and said, well, the ancient Egyptians, again, they were, they had aspirations to a divinity, and that happens to be the same divinity that I believe in, but just represented through their culture. So he probably never would have admitted that there is a God out there that's been proposed that he doesn't in some way believe in. So that thought experiment seemed to be going absolutely nowhere at all. But he'd already admitted earlier on in the call that he did not have sufficient evidence to support his belief in God, but he felt that he could reasonably believe in the God. We never really got to what those reasons are, unfortunately. And I think that Matt could have maybe nailed them down a bit more. When he said, when he admitted I don't have sufficient evidence to believe in my own God, I really think Matt, instead of going for the 20 gods to establish a point of epistemology, could have just said, okay, you haven't got sufficient evidence. Why do you then believe in your God? And that could have then gone down a more profitable route. But okay, it was really amusing the way it turned out, and interesting. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I would love to hear some of your comments. that's about it. Bye for now.